Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of Voices from the Dark. Today we've got the 7th installment of the Artist series. I'm pretty excited about this episode because it's our first musician on the show. Just a couple of announcements, as usual. Coming up later on in this month, probably in July, we're going to be doing the I'll Be Right Back series again, number 2. So it'll be, again, comparative horror film. And if you know about the first episode, it was about the movie Better Watch Out from 2016, I believe. And the next episode will be about a movie from 2018, I believe, or 2017, called The Babysitter. Sort of a babysitter horror series, which there's a lot of material to talk about, a lot of stuff to talk about in that theme. Also, as usual, I'm looking for co-producers and co-hosts. Please send in your ideas. If you're listening, nothing is too crazy. Just send me what you're thinking. If you ever wanted to make a podcast, this could be your chance. I'm looking for any kind of collaboration. So, let's get onto the installment number 7 of the Artist series. I will let my guest introduce herself. She is sitting in front of me in a cafe called
Citrona Cafe. Hello, everyone. So here's J. Hermit, and I'm a guitarist, composer, and a singer. So I'm originally born in China, and I finished my bachelor study in Australia, Melbourne.
In Melbourne?
Yeah.
Okay. How was living there? What was that like?
Great. So it's like quite different from China. So I was living in China for more than 20 years, and then I moved to Melbourne for 4 years. And there I studied the Bachelor of Music Guitar, and I met like very cool person there, including my mentor. So it's called Tony Afid. And the city is like pretty and relaxed, and sometimes very, very relaxed compared to China.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and
much
where
less
are you from
people.
in China?
North part, quite close to Beijing, called Shijiazhuang.
Okay.
But the name is a bit difficult. Yeah.
I'm not going to try.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not going to attempt it.
It's difficult. Anyway.
I would attempt it in another time.
Yeah.
But not on the episode. I'll destroy everybody's ears.
Oh, well. It takes a bit of time practicing, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, and now you live in Berlin.
Yeah, now I live in Berlin.
I guess we could talk about your music first, or what path you took to become a musician, or it's up to you. Do you want to talk about what you're doing right now?
Okay.
Or,
So it's like what very interesting. So very very updated news is I will start master study in guitar in October in Detmold. So
where?
Detmold. So it's Germany, but West Germany.
Okay.
Close to Hanover.
Okay.
Yeah, and I moved to Berlin since March this year, so not very long.
Oh, wow.
So it's like 3 months. And before I was like 8 months in Dresden, so it's the east city in Germany.
Dresden? No.
Yeah.
Oh, Dresden.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I finished my German language course there.
Okay.
Very intensive. And so after that I had like the whole daytime playing guitar, composing, and preparing for the exams, entrance exam for the master study. And I got a few opportunities to perform in Berlin.
Okay.
It's like guitar concerts and different shows and meeting different musicians and people, like quite good. So full on, but I mean it's like really inspiring.
And this was while you were living in Dresden.
No, that's Berlin.
Oh, so I
So
know, but
Dresden is for the language study.
and then you
After that, I moved to
immediately
Berlin.
and then you immediately started getting shows right away.
Well, it took
Because
a
you've only been here
month.
since March. Oh, a month.
Yeah,
wow.
it took a month because it was almost like a research process,
Oh.
So I was like searching the venues in Berlin, where can I play the concerts, and then I did find the list. So they really have like the venues for the concerts and acoustic music, especially because that's what I'm playing. And then I was contacted like a few venues and asked if it's possible to play solo concerts or like double concert, or it's like sometimes the open mics because it's like very flexible. So it's like a quite interesting because I started to get like performances in March. Like
That's amazing.
yeah,
That's great. And you said you found the list?
Yeah.
And what is that?
so it's like the venues for Berlin.
And it's
It's
like
music
a website.
venues.
It's like
Yeah.
thelist.de or
Someone
something?
listed that. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like
Okay.
quite interesting, and also the list for open mics,
Mm.
the list for like the shows, the opportunities to perform a concert. Yes.
Okay. And so, I mean, I've heard some of your music on your website.
Mm-hmm.
What's your style? What are you working on? What is your, you know?
Yeah, the style is an interesting topic because I'm playing guitar, so classical guitar, acoustic guitar, and at the same time I'm composing. Sometimes I'm also singing, so I'm always trying to like define the style, but sometimes I feel it's difficult to say one thing what I'm playing because I know it's acoustic music, but sometimes I also make like electronic tracks. So if I really have to say something, I think it's more like indie music.
Okay.
Because it's really from what I want to say. So yeah, it's like not exactly limited to one style.
Okay, I mean, I would say that it's quite eclectic from what I heard. I did hear some electronic influences there, and definitely the classical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you must have studied
classical guitar.
Did you study any other styles, jazz maybe? Or?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I listen to jazz, and I have like friends who play very good jazz music. Yeah, but for study, like in the university or in the conservatoire, not yet.
Okay. So maybe you can rewind a little bit and tell us more about like, you know, your path in China. You know, so before you got to, well, you said first place was Dresden in Germany, right? Or first was Australia and then
First
Germany.
was Australia, yeah.
So maybe if you can rewind a little bit and tell us like, what was the first time that you realized you wanted to be a guitarist or a musician in general, and then how did you, maybe you started on a different instrument or this, or, you know, so maybe tell.
Yeah, there'll be a long
the
story.
Well, yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah, so
also going to be interesting, I'm sure.
yeah. So my first instrument is actually accordion. It was very, very long time ago, and it was like I think it's when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Really?
Yeah, and at that time I started to play the accordion. But later, you know, when you're playing some complicated pieces, you need to play bigger accordion.
I didn't
So
know that.
yeah, it's like the instrument is getting like bigger and bigger, so you have more keys to play, and you can play more and more complicated stuff. But for me, it's because I was so small at that time, so it's very limited to play like the big size accordion. So after that, my parents thought, okay, maybe it's better to change an instrument, something which the size won't grow.
Yeah.
So the second instrument for me is piano.
Oh.
Yeah, so I learned that for like 7 years or something. Yeah. And after that, I started guitar. Okay. So it was not very early compared to some other, you know, professional guitar students. Yeah, but I mean, that was actually the first time I fell in love with some instrument. Because for piano, it's like, good, yeah, okay. But for guitar, it's okay, I want it. And I want to play it like more. And I even stopped my study in junior and senior high school. But then I realized maybe it was not completely right because you know how competitive in China it is. Like a lot of people, they're trying to get to the uni. Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's like, okay, I'll just like take a bit less time practicing and maybe put a little bit more time back to my study. And after that, yes, I got in some good universities in China. And, you know, a job as a musician is not secure, probably everywhere in the world, but in China especially. Yeah, and of course, it's like the family and friends think, yeah, of course, it's better to have a job like a doctor, lawyer, teacher. Yeah, so for me, in the university, I actually studied medicine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I finished the Master of Chinese Medicine in Beijing.
Oh, so you finished?
I finished, yes. Because like the struggle is always like, I want to be a musician, but what are you making for a live? It's not secure.
Yeah.
So it's like my parents studied also medicine, so they can help me. career-wise.
Yeah, like networks and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Connections.
Yes. And that's actually what interesting is the first and second years of my university study of medicine, I was in another school study biology because that's like an exchange program. And there, it's called Nankai University in a city called Tianjin in China. It's quite good. The biology is very good there. It's almost like the top in China. And then there I met my band, original band members there, and guitar club. And that's actually when the fire lighted. Yeah, so it's, at that time I felt, it's like the life is blooming as a flower. That was like wonderful, amazing. And I never felt that before. So we were rehearsing the Hotel California by Eagles, so the acoustic version. And, 5, 6 of us were sitting together, and the singers, and we were like also singing harmony and played acoustic guitar, and we were recording the rehearsal, and then we listened to it back. We just felt like, oh my goodness, that's what we want to do. And after that, yes, the 2 years is we started from the uni, played in different faculties in the university, and after that also the shows in the city, and then I had to leave the city, go back to Beijing to continue my medicine study. But I think since I started with my band, I always feel that I should be a musician rather than a doctor, because the passion is in music. And I think if we just we just live with a job because we have to do it, or we have to live, we have to earn money, but we don't have passion in it, is actually tragic. For me, it's like I cannot handle it, because I know what I'm looking for, and I always have to do another job. It doesn't work. So I was like talking to my parents, I want to change to music. I don't want to continue the medicine study. But it did take 5 years maybe to persuade them to.
Oh, man.
Because
rough.
I understand, because it's like music is really like question marks, full of question marks.
Definitely.
And medicine is good. We have to say, as a career, it's like secure, maybe the securest. So that's why I finished the Master of Chinese Medicine with most of the time practicing guitar. Yes. And after that, I went to Australia, Melbourne. And at that time, some people suggest me, maybe you could directly start from master because you've already got a bachelor degree. Because it's like, bachelor,
it's
and
just
then
like the
you can...
basic stuff in the bachelor's degree.
Yeah, but, for music, what important in bachelor, it's like the history, the theory, all the basic stuff is in the bachelor, and you don't get to learn it in master. So yes, I tried. So I applied for the master, I got in, and I started it, and I realized what I wanted to know was actually not there. So all the things were in the bachelor. So I just went back to the bachelor and finished it.
Brave. Very brave. That's most people would try to use their other degree as some kind of an advantage, but you chose to go take a step back. It's also smart to do that, if you ask me. So before we talk more about Australia, you said that you fell in love with the guitar and then you found your band, but that the band like lit this fire for you. So so you definitely you were in love with the guitar before you met the band?
Yes.
Is that, okay.
Already.
Yeah. And then the band was like just that next level, which made it all come together.
Because while I started to play guitar, I also agreed that maybe guitar won't make a good career.
At that time when you fell in love with it, you also
agreed I also thought maybe it's like a smart choice to study medicine, because network, all the other things we mentioned before. So it's like I also agreed to study medicine, but after that I just realized it was not right for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for a while there, you were going along with what you agreed with what your parents felt about a career.
Only at the start. Yeah.
So how long did it take for you to just how many years were you? So a master's must take 7 years. 7 years. So from before that, you were also thinking that you should do medicine. So it was like
since the first year.
yeah. So
Yes.
but before that as well, maybe how many years in total was it that you were like
Struggling with
exactly.
6 years maybe.
Okay.
So it's since I met my band and since we had the blooming feeling, I already started to think or feel that musician is actually the good thing for me,
That was the best thing for you. Okay.
not the doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're in Australia, you're in Melbourne. So I've been to Melbourne, and from what I know, from what I've seen, there's a lot of beaches. I was in St. Kilda.
Yeah. That was pretty. Yeah.
So did you have a band there? Or-
Unfortunately not.
Oh, no.
So it's just like it's not a band, but I have other like ensemble, so duo.
A duo?
I did, two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Duo.
So yeah. Interesting one is with the koto player.
A
Japanese instrument koto.
Oh,
So it's like a Japanese sitar.
okay.
Yeah. So it's like quite fun. We arrange some Japanese music. Also, we arrange something for guitar and koto.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's like a fun time. Other than that, it's like there are also a lot of happening in the uni. Yeah. So it's like the guitar ensemble or solo concert opportunities. So it's really quite full on.
So you did shows at the school, at the university?
And sometimes
outside.
out of the school. So it's
Okay.
like in the church or in the cafe or in the bar or in something.
Okay, and so what made you leave Australia?
Intuition.
Okay. Tell
So,
me more about that.
I should say because I had an opportunities to go exchange study in England.
Oh,
Yeah, and so I was in Birmingham for 6 months, and I studied also guitar there as an exchange student. And then at that time, I had the opportunity to travel a bit. So I went to the guitar festival in Finland,
okay.
and then I also traveled in Germany. Because, it's like Germany is always considered as the best country to study music.
Really?
Yes, because Johann Sebastian Bach, Beethoven,
Okay, yeah.
like a lot
Those
of
guys.
the history is like very deep,
Mhm.
and also now the level is also very high. So I already heard about it while I was in Australia. It's like as a performer, Germany is one of the best countries. As a music teacher, yes, Australia is already not bad. But if I want to make a career to perform, Europe and especially Germany is better.
Yeah, I know that they have a lot of, let's say, government support for the arts in general. So I'm sure
Also
that-
performance opportunities, festivals. So it's like really like much more compared to Australia.
yeah.
Yeah, and the level, the level of the guitarist and the level of the composer and other musicians are also very high.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so you mentioned a lot about your path and the different places that you've been a musician, and now you're in Germany, in Berlin, and you said you're gonna move on from Berlin, even though you've only been here. That's too bad you're leaving.
Yeah.
You've had a very long path that has gone a long way, like around the world. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think I know what motivates you. I think you have this love for music, and maybe you can tell me more about that love and that motivation. But what were maybe some challenges, like, because it seems up to now, from what I've heard you talk about, it seems like you've always had steps that are quite clear for you, even when you were struggling for those 6 years between like medicine and music. Even during that time, it was like you were sort of, you have a good head on your shoulders, like you're just kind of going in one direction or 1.5 directions. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
It makes sense. I understand.
What kind of challenges have you faced?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like when we hear stories about people's challenges and the challenges they overcome, those are the most interesting.
Yeah, because I think you mentioned it because now we're looking back, so it seems like much clearer.
Ah, okay.
But while I was in it, so it was always like I was walking in a forest full of fog.
Okay.
So it's like a foggy forest. So and it's like the very.
That's a name for a song.
It's what?
That's a name for a song.
Yeah.
Foggy Forest.
Great.
Sorry.
Yeah, all good. So, I mean, it's always like I actually don't really know clearly what is the next step. So it's like, when the fog is very big, you just see maybe within a meter. Okay, so now when you're really there, you see, okay, maybe the next 1 meter, I want to go somewhere. But other than that, because people always ask me, what is your plan in 4 years? Oh, wow, that's for me, it's like so changeable. How would I say it? So I might be in here, might be another side of the world. I don't know. So it's almost like, yes, I walk a bit and follow the intuition. So I want to do this or I want to go there. And then I just go. And after that, okay, step by step. It looks like step by step. But it was actually always exploring. So nothing is already sure, already certain, even for the study. I just knew it this last week. So it's like very new.
Okay.
Yeah, so the challenge...
so your next step, you only figured it out last week?
Because I only got the invitation letter last week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I applied for different conservatoires, but it's like music study in Germany is very, very competitive. So for almost every conservatoire for guitar, there's 0 to 1 place for master of guitar.
0 to 1 place?
Yeah, so sometimes no place, sometimes 1.
Wow.
So if they got 2, it's already very, very good.
And is it so low everywhere in Europe? The volume of the quantity of guitar spots. I mean.
Yes, because guitar is actually is not considered as the typical orchestral instrument, and usually it's a very small faculty in the conservatoire. So the piano, the singers, violin, they always have like more places, but for guitar, the places are always very limited.
That's interesting to know.
Yeah.
So,
and and what you asked about the challenge, I think the biggest challenge for me is always about the cultural difference, because in Asia it's like secure life is very important. So in China, actually, when we get into university, we don't change it very easily. Because I heard people in China, in Germany, they could change like the major a few times when they when they study university. Said for 1 year and I don't like it, then I will change, I'll apply again, start it again. But because in China it's very competitive and you only have 1 chance per year to take the entrance exam. And if you want to go back, you need to take the entrance exam again, compete with, I cannot say the number, but a huge number of students. Yeah, so it's very difficult. So at that time, when I realized medicine is not something that fit me, it was already very difficult to start again. So for me, it's either I quit, like completely, and otherwise it's just like go along with it, and after that figure something out. So that's also like for the 6 years, it's always like the confliction with my parents, with friends. So because all the people say, are you crazy? Medicine is almost like the best job in the world. What else do you want? Guitar is only a hobby, and it's the best when you just take it as a hobby. So it's always like the hobby. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big question that I always have. It's like, how does any artist anywhere take any particular art, whether it be music or painting or what have you? How do you make? Because most of us are starting as like, you just do it because you want to. It's not like a career choice in the beginning.
Exactly.
And how does it go from being just a hobby, or how do you make it an actual way of living? How do you make it a career?
Yeah,
that's one of the big questions that I ask people. It's like I mean, this is something I usually leave for the end, like towards the end of the podcast. But it's like, how are you able to survive as a musician?
Yes. So that's also part of the reason why I'm in Germany now, because in Australia I've already found a relatively not very challenging way to make a living as a guitar teacher, and I already did that. So it's like, it's good. I mean, guitar teacher is always kind of popular because kids want to learn guitar or piano, but guitar is always a good choice. So I taught in like primary school, like private students. So it's like they're paying well, I have to say. So it's like to make a living as a guitar teacher is always okay. And from the information I know from Germany is also, it's like when you're working as a guitar teacher, it's okay. Instrumental teacher, it's always fine. But for me, the challenge is always about how to make a living as a performer.
Yeah, that's kind of what that's the general idea. It's like, I mean, it's good to be able to, you know, do different things to with your music or with your art to survive, which is also very interesting to know, because obviously it's better than, you know, digging holes in the ground or digging ditches, as they say.
Yeah.
But the real challenge, I guess, is like you said, it's the performance, doing the actual art.
Yes. So it's like doing really something where following the heart. Yeah, so that's also something I'm doing, and that's also why I'm participating in different, you know, performance opportunities, because I want to see what other musicians are doing, what are they thinking, you know, what are they taking this approach of being a musician, of being an artist. So I think now I've seen like different people, and some of them, they are doing like the street music, and they told me they can make a living by that, like. Yes, busking. Yes, and it's, you know, as a street musician, it's actually quite different from what like the environment is like in the conservatoire, because in the conservatoire it's more like classical music, and they do have a way of, you know, taking the competition and win the competition from maybe 1 out of 100 people. And then, they get opportunities to play the tour concerts, and after that release CDs. That's one way, but that's probably not the way I want to take, because it's like competing is actually not the idea of being an artist. You don't want to take all the colleagues as your enemies. You just say, okay, he might compete with me later.
I really like that. I actually agree with that, but I feel like maybe a lot of artists don't agree with that. I feel like there is a lot of competition and they feel it. So maybe you can tell me more, like, why do you think that? Why do you think that? I mean, maybe it has something to do with community and also developing yourself and helping other people. But maybe if you, in your own words, you can say why you don't see other artists as enemies. I really like that.
Yeah, I think maybe what I really like is the feeling in the band. We're like a family. We really like a family. So it's like we're helping each other. We are actually, all of us are musicians. But we don't get the feeling of, okay, we're competing with each other. But it's more like communicating. So it's, what you have in mind. So you might play something, it's some new ideas with your guitar, and how can I learn it? With bass, okay, actually we can play like this. With drums, how can we collaborate? So it's always like collaborating rather than competing. But sometimes with other musicians, you really see that, okay, if I have something in hand, I would try to prevent you getting it. So for me, it's just like, you know, you are living in this, say, for me, guitar world. Yeah. And if everyone you meet is actually a competitor and your enemy, what's the meaning? It doesn't make any sense. But what I like is really like, you know, everybody's individual. Everybody might have the very unique ideas. So we communicate, is 1 + 1 is more than 2. So you learn my idea, I learn your idea. We might be able to create something together. That's like the thing. It's like making a movie, you know. It's always like teamwork. Yes, so it's like one person. It's very difficult to make a movie, but teamwork is always better. So you're better at something, I'm better at others. We collaborate. I think it's the best.
I usually don't ask the kind of question I'm about to ask, but so bands and filmmaking are very collaborative efforts, but like a painter or a writer, it's quite solitary. How could is there some way that advice or that kind of mentality can be applied to the more solitary arts, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's more like if you're a writer, you also read others' books, right? That's the same thing.
That's good. I
so
like that.
yeah.
That's quite obvious also.
Yeah. So
that's a good answer.
Yeah. So what I mean is like it really depends on which attitude you're approaching. So if you're reading and you're always thinking that I could write better. I don't like this idea. Or it's just like, I like here. Maybe I could just like absorb some, elements. Yes, but not copying.
Well,
but
there's a whole philosophy that says that you should copy, but
it's how you are going to copy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's not word by word. And for painter, it's also like you're also going to other exhibitions. You like try to open yourself to others' ideas and how they are using the structures, the colors, the all the elements in painting. So it's not really like I don't like it. He's not. I'm the best. I'm always the best. You're always worse than me. It's not the attitude. Yeah.
I really like that.
Thanks.
And I think we've covered a lot in a very short amount of time. So I think we should take a little break. And then, I think that what we can talk about next is maybe more current stuff that you're doing.
Okay.
And, just more, now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Cool.
See you later.
Welcome to the first intermission that we've ever had on Voices from the Dark. Since this is our first artists episode with a musician, we've got some music for you. So this first piece by J Hermit is called Shimmer. And at the end of the podcast, we will have another piece by Jia called Eternity. Both of them are beautiful and amazing, and I think you'll enjoy it. So here it is. Okay, so we're back.
Yes.
As usual, during the break, we had a great conversation,
Yeah.
which we didn't record, but, that's life. So we are going to pick up from the last thing we were talking about, where maybe we can talk about your current projects. And so I saw on your website that you have some upcoming things, and you said that you are going to be leaving Berlin at some point.
Yeah.
But
for my study.
maybe let's talk about your current projects in Berlin first.
Okay. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then so have an upcoming concert on July the 7th in Kali's bookshop. So it's quite interesting place. It's a psychedelic bookshop.
Psychedelic.
Yeah.
And what is it called?
Kali.
Kali,
So
like the
Kali.
like the god of death or the god of destruction. And it's like a Hindu god of destruction or death. Or
Okay.
something.
Yeah.
Kali. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you know, in Indiana Jones, they have this one scene with where they're
Okay.
chanting Kalima, Kalima. Anyway,
Okay.
I don't know that much about Hindu
Me either.
religion, but
I didn't ask about that.
so it's called Kali.
Kali bookshop.
Kali bookshop. And
Kali psychological bookshop.
psychological or
Yeah.
psychedelic.
Psychedelic. I think it's Kali bookshop.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And so
Yes, and
Yeah.
so the concert is going to be improvisative, meditative, with solo guitar.
and are you going to be the only one playing? Or
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes, so it's a solo guitar concert.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm like going to improvise a bit and then combine with some of the existing pieces.
Oh,
Yeah.
that they already have there.
No, I already played.
Oh, that you already.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like I did a test this week, and now it's like still flexible. If I'm going to take any break in between, or I just play the whole thing in an hour,
Oh.
it might also be possible.
So
Let's
how
see.
much time do you have to do your whole performance? Like they give you the whole night?
No, they gave me the whole night, but I think the performance will be 1 hour, 1 hour to 1 hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
And how do you feel going into that? How do you feel like? So now that's what, a week away.
It's
It's like next week or
2 weeks. Still.
about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah, it's like this one is like really interesting because it's not like a very stressing performance or something. It's not really the same with you. Okay, you're performing in a concert hall. It's like people need to get dressed and come here. It's different. I mean, here it's because what they are doing is also a lot about yoga, meditation, reading books, like a lot of creative stuff as well. So for me, it's like I could be really relaxed and free to do whatever I want. So as I mentioned, I did a test there. So sometimes I let my mind lead my fingers. So it's like I want to hear some notes and I play them. But sometimes I let the fingers lead my mind. So I play something just with whatever I feel. And after that, I improvise on what I played. So it's like quite interesting for me. And they have a lot of like colorful paintings on the wall, on the roof. And yeah, I think it's going to be really fun.
Okay. So you have like a plan of what you're going to play?
I have a feel in mind, but as I said, it's for this time I don't really want to set everything ahead. I want to leave some space for me to improvise, including the existing pieces. So I might prepare 10, but I might play 5 and improvise in between. So which 5 I'll just decide maybe on the day, maybe the day before, maybe during the concert.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess since you're a performer, specifically, a solo performer, a lot of the time. Do you ever get nervous? We talked a little bit about being nervous on the break. So, like, do you ever get stage fright?
Yeah, tell me about it. There's a whole theory of how to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's like when I was in Australia, so I think it was like the first classical guitar solo concert. I didn't know how to deal with it, It's just like I was in the preparing room and I had to sing very high notes to overcome this nervousness, but it didn't work. Because, later, we covered a lot in our study, like how to deal with this stage fright. And we learned also something called Alexander technique. So it's like both physically and mentally, how to relax and how to let the energy flow in a, balanced way and in a calm way. But you also find, the vividness in your body. That's something very interesting. But before that, I think the nervous is just like the energy, and you don't know how to control, so it's like going everywhere, and it takes out your focus from your performance. So yes, of course I had that. And later, one point I think I could remember is like when I try to feel the nervousness is actually the energy in my body. It's flowing before. Then things started to get better. And then with the Alexander technique, yes, I got very interesting spot. So before the performance, I will get even the opposite side. I'll be really calmed down and very sleepy. And that for me, it's almost like a process raising the energy. So it's like, okay, now I have a switch. So when I'm now going to the stage, I need to start my performance, I will switch it on and that energy comes out. But before it's just like, okay, raising and raising and raising and then let it out. So, yeah.
So what is this Alexander process exactly like?
Yeah.
Is there something you can say about that?
Yeah, so Alexander technique is actually something, I had the private lessons like weekly for maybe 2 years in Australia with a very good teacher called Noel Reese Hatton. And so with her, it's like 2 parts in our lesson mostly. And the first part is physical. So it's like physical relaxation. So she's guiding me how to relax the body. Because I, with the practice, I also have sometimes the shoulder pain, the arm pain. So she's also releasing this. So that's like the physical side. And then later, I'm just like playing the guitar for my teacher. And then she's also trying to lead me and then give me feedbacks about, how broad space you have. And actually you are not only in this room, but you're actually in a broader space. And you're playing, let the energy go out. And you're feeling yourself as a tree. So it's like the whole mental thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like really interesting. And you have like your arms moving as you have wings. So everything comes, from your spine. So this is, like the both side. Really got a lot of benefit from that.
And who is this Alexander person?
Alexander, so he's actually from Australia.
Oh.
Yeah, and he created this theory, I think, more than 100 years ago. And then he brought that to England. So now in England, it's also very popular, this Alexander Technique Society. Yeah.
And this is for relaxation for performers, basically?
Yes.
Specifically for musicians, or?
I think it's for musicians. It could be very well applied, but for other things it also applied because, as I said, it's both physical and mental. So for mental, it also applied for, I think, almost everything. Yeah.
And was this Alexander guy? Was he thinking of musicians or some other I don't know if you know what the history of this technique.
We did study a bit. Now I need to recall a bit. I think what I could remember is like he was teaching himself how to become a better performer. I think so. He was
he an
like
actor or something, or?
I cannot remember very clearly, but what I remember is just like he was teaching himself with a mirror. So he was observing himself and writing like the diary how could improve something. Yeah. Other than that, I need to check it out.
Okay. Yeah, and so we also talked on the break about we talked on the break and also before that about different challenges that artists face, but also there's a key word that has popped up in pretty much all of the artist interviews that I've done or conversations, as I like to call them. That's what they are. Is perseverance. It's like, how do you? So when you come up to some kind of an obstacle, like stage fright, or if you're not at a certain level that you want to be at, it's like, what gets you? What helps you to get to the next level? Is there some kind of tips or advice, or just something that you've always relied on to kind of help you to take the next step, to get to the next step?
Yeah, I think this is also like when I'm looking back, because when I'm going through the process, sometimes it's really dark and dangerous and fragile, I have to say. But when I'm looking back, I think his self-confidence is very important.
But how do you kind of generate that?
So I think it depends on what I've done, what people have said,
Okay.
the feedback I've got.
What if it's negative feedback?
Yeah, negative feedback, that's exactly what I got. It's almost destroyed me last year.
Okay.
And after that, I think it's like a training, it's like a training process. So sometimes I borrow ideas from the Buddhist or the Taoism.
Taoism is, I learned about, that's Chinese philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. So because now the Buddhism and the Taoism, they're like relatively the main philosophy in China.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, for the Buddhism, they always say that you are taking a training. The life is a training process. So for me, I'm also taking this because you never know what is going to happen. Yeah, sometimes life seems to be easier, but sometimes quite difficult. So for me, it's okay. So the life is a process of, become better. So I want to become a better person. So maybe now something very difficult come to me, and it's just a training process. So it's just like I need to find a way out. I know the problem is there, and now I need to solve it. So this is okay. I'm taking the challenge. Yeah, and I think sometimes when it's too big, when it's too overwhelming, I'll just try to think, I've actually done quite a lot of good things. Because last year I got the biggest question mark because some very, qualified guitarist told me that I am not playing well enough. And I may not be able to get in the study in Germany. So that was like, oh my goodness. So it's what have I done in the past, how many years? And like, I always thought I could like make a way out of this music career. But now it's just like, okay, how do I cope with it? Yes, and later, I thought, I've already written some good music. I've already made quite a few concerts. And I visited other, quite good guitarists, and they really liked what I did. So maybe, yes, this is a personal taste stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, and I could take it as a starting spot to become better, of course. I could train myself, it's like harder. But at the same time, I should keep my self-confidence. I'm good, that's the basic point. And yes, if I'm good and I could be better, that's much easier to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you basically have taken these experiences and kind of translated them into your next step, basically. So you mentioned before solving a problem. So it's like you mentioned a couple of the problems, like negative feedback.
Yeah.
But what's the major problem? Like what is? So I think that from what I can tell from what you've said, is that the more you interact with other musicians or whatever art you practice, the more you interact with them, the more you can sort of judge yourself, maybe. What do you think about that? Is this like, does it all come down to self-judgment?
Yeah, I don't know if this will answer the question exactly, but sometimes I feel that, when we're growing up, we're getting stronger and stronger, and then comes more and more difficult tasks, and we have to solve them. So it's, for me, I think the training process, you have to give something. It's like, you give and you get something back. So if you want to become better, of course you need to take some hard training, sometimes even harsh. So I think it's really like when it comes, you cannot really change what comes, but you can change how you're reacting. It's like to it. You can like reacting more calmly, or you can really be agitated. Oh, okay, what to do? But I think if we just like have a calm look at it. Okay, let it happen. Things will be sorted out.
Yeah.
And, the worst thing will be sorted out by time.
Yeah.
So, if later you're looking back, it's not as difficult as now.
Yeah. Actually, in the last episode, we talked a lot about time because the artist, she was a performance artist, and she had a very unique, for me, it was very unique outlook about time and how time is kind of, it in itself is a sort of a creative thing. And I mean, it's when we talk like this, it seems sort of obvious, but like you said, when you're looking back, it's always easier. But when you're in it, it's hard to process it.
Yes.
So I think that maybe looking back is actually one of the most important pieces of advice that we can give to other artists. Is like, you have to do things, you have to produce, you have to, involve yourself with other artists, create a community. And then when you come up to this is basically what you said. It's like when you come up to a problem, you look back and you say, I did all these good things. And even though I'm getting negative feedback now, that doesn't mean that, I'm bad. It just means that, maybe it's someone's opinion.
Yeah.
And then you can like kind of take this negative feedback and your past accomplishments and like use it as like a rocket or like some kind of fuel.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just like a new challenge, just like a new training. So, and it will lead you to become a better person. Yeah. So, because I think another thing I want to say is compared to time, we are just so tiny. It's,
very true.
Yeah, our lifespan is just so tiny. So what happens is like when we're comparing to the universe, maybe it's just like, it's a dust.
Yeah. It's just dust, yeah. I mean, that's what they say. The Catholics or Christians or whatever, from dust to dust or whatever it's like, yeah. But that brings me back to, maybe we can talk more about the why, the motivations. Like, so it's like, why do you do this? Why are you a musician? I mean, I know it's because you love it, but it's got to be something deeper.
Intuition. It's always something I'm saying. Because that might also be a thing when I don't know where to go, and something I'm always following. Because this, there's no reason. Intuition is you cannot explain to people, because when people are asking, why do you think playing guitar is better than, I don't know,
medicine? Yeah,
medicine. And for me, it's just like, I feel I want to do it. Why? For me, it's quite clear, but it's difficult to explain, it's because intuition is actually not that convincing to anyone. It's convincing, very convincing to myself, but to others, doesn't really matter. Yeah, so I think that's
that's sort of a problem in itself, isn't it? It's like do we need to know why? Do we need to have a clear way of saying why?
Exactly. Or? Do we need to explain it to everyone? Because this is our life. We choose. And something I feel like, because this is every minute, every second you are feeling, and nobody will feel the same as you do. And this is your life. So you're following intuition. There's nothing wrong with it. And you don't have to convince others, especially when they don't understand. Because it might seem perfect for them, but if you're not happy for every second, every single second. But for them, okay, maybe they are thinking of you like 10 seconds per day. That's already a lot. A lot, yeah. Yeah, but okay, they might be happy for the 10 seconds per day, but for you, it's like the whole life. Yeah. So I think this is the thing. Why am I making music? Because I really feel the eagerness. I want to make it, and also I have something to say, and I think music is the best way for me to say what I want to say. Okay. Yeah.
Should I ask you what you want to say, or?
So so it's, for example, music is always like writing a diary for me. So it's like, something fascinating. What I learned from a friend in Beijing is like he actually describes an image for me. And then he asked me, that's the writing music is like this to me, and how would you like write music? So if I'm saying now we see a red balloon gradually flying higher and higher and higher and disappear in the sky. And if I'm writing music, I will just describe this image. And for me, it's wow. It's like I never knew it. I never thought about it, that the music can be written like this. So for me, it's like later, it's quite inspiring. So later for me, it's like, okay, today I saw something. This could be like mom and a daughter on a bus. They had a conversation, happy day, or they have some deeper conversation. Maybe they have argument or something. Everything could be translated into music. And then when something happened to me, for example, I recorded something this week. Maybe later I'm releasing an EP. So 2 pieces are exactly about the dark moment I mentioned last year. So self-doubtness and how I overcome it and what happened. So this is like, I think it's the magic. Because music is actually, I should say, formless. You cannot really touch it. You cannot really see it. But you hear it, and maybe you have the image in your mind, and you have your own story, and you can create something in the music. So I'm writing the music because of something, but you hear it and you create something else. So that's like, translating and keep the things going, keep the energy going. So it's really fascinating process.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the audience, because that's one of the kind of aspects of the why question, or the why question is. It's like, do you create music for yourself? This is a question I ask a lot of the artists in the series.
Yeah.
Do you create it for yourself, or is it for the audience? I mean, I think you already said a little bit about that, but maybe you could say a little bit more.
Yeah, because this is also a question I'm always thinking. Because, nowadays, as a performer, people always saying that it's easier to create things for others because you'll get more listener. You'll get your CD will be sold more because it's like more people will like it. But for me, I'm thinking, your feeling the best. How would you know others' feeling? There's no equation, okay, if I write music like this, people will like it. So for me, it doesn't work. For me, it's like what I feel, what I want to say, because it's really like sincere. It's like the words I have in mind. And if I say it and people hear it, they will have the resonance. So that's the way. So it's not exactly writing for me, but, the starting point is from myself. Yes, and then sharing it with others. Yeah.
I think that's quite accurate. I think, that's... You know yourself the best, for sure. So July 7th, you have a show coming up. I really want to personally make that show myself, but I'm not sure I'll be in town. That's really sad.
I'll try to make another one.
And when are you leaving Berlin?
Baumschulenweg for now. But
no, when are you leaving?
Sorry.
That's okay.
We can cut it.
Oh, you live in Baumschulenweg? I have a friend who lives there.
Great.
Yeah. It's a good spot.
You mean until when?
Yeah, until when? Because you said you're leaving.
Yeah, I think until September, because the new semester starts in October.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but because Germany, I could always like come back and forth, doing some performance. Yeah. So. And
do you feel like? I guess we can talk about a little bit more about location, because I feel like location, and you mentioned it already. Location is extremely important when it comes to art. So, of course, Berlin is a kind of an artist's mecca, or
center.
It's definitely very artistic. And so, do you think that when you go to Dresden, right? Do you think that you would be traveling around and maybe even touring in Germany, or maybe even outside Germany?
I mean later for my study.
No, I mean for your performances. So when you go to study in Dresden?
No, I'm going to study in Detmold.
Ah, right.
Yeah, I
Is it-
studied. I learned German in
Sorry.
Dresden.
All
Yeah.
these
All
German
good.
cities I always
know.
forget. Yeah, I'm
I
not perfect with my
know.
German geography.
Yes.
But so when you go to study, will you continue to perform?
Of course.
But I
Yes.
mean, outside of your this
That mod. Yes,
what is
that
it?
mod.
That mod. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
So,
I know it's very
But
small.
will you like travel maybe back to Berlin to
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
Yes,
to perform?
that's always the plan.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm always like really open to any performance opportunity because every performance is unique.
Mm.
So you get the experience. Yeah,
Okay.
and you get to talk to people and
Yeah.
you get to learn a lot of good things.
Mm.
So it's like I'm thinking, because later I also have an EP being released in September. So there might be a small tour. We're organizing that for now. Yeah, and later is in Germany. It's like not very difficult to travel around.
No, it's quite small.
Yes,
Yeah.
so it's like
Relatively.
relatively. So I mean, compared to America,
And
compared to
China.
Australia as well.
Australia.
Yeah, and then I mean, it's like coming back to Berlin is always possible, and it's
Okay.
always a pleasure,
Cool.
of course.
And so, yeah, it would be great. It would be great to hear more from you.
Of
you
course.
know, if you ever come back to Berlin. Well, you're going to be in Berlin till September,
Yeah,
so.
There's also another concert on September the 9th with
Oh.
cats.
With cats.
It's a cat cafe in Berlin.
September 9th.
Yeah.
Wait, why do I know that? Cats.
Yes.
Where is that?
Zur Miete
Oh,
Katzenkaffee.
yeah. Maybe I don't know it.
Yeah, it's okay. I just knew it like
Yeah.
quite newly.
And so your EP, is that with a band or just
No,
solo?
it's like a solo guitar music as well as something combined with electronic tracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so July 7th is solo as well.
Yeah.
September 9th
Yeah.
also? So,
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have plans of putting a band together?
Oh yes, I really want to.
So what's your dream lineup like in terms of, like arrangement, drums? What do you want in your band?
I want a team. It's like musicians. This band is really nice, and also others.
I mean instruments.
Instruments.
Yeah. So like which instruments do you want? An oboe? Do you want a trumpet?
Wow, depends on what pieces
wow.
I write.
Oh my God. You can have like a 20-piece band and.
But I mean, there could always be the core members and
Yeah.
also the guest
Okay.
musicians.
So core members.
Oh wow.
Is this too crazy of a question?
No, of
No?
course
Okay.
not. But because what I have now in hand, it's something like relatively kind of sort of rock project.
Okay.
I would love to have a rock band, and I'm always thinking this is the brainstorm. I'm always thinking for the metal music and for the gothic metal. I'd love to join the gothic metal music and play classical guitar.
Oh wow.
Because I think it's almost like, because I heard people already use the lute in the metal music.
Really?
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
I'm a little bit out of the loop myself.
I mean, not
love
loop,
I love
but the
metal.
lute.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
I'm out of the loop on the lute.
Okay.
So like I don't know who's this band that has the
Aesthetic Fair, I heard
Aesthetic
about.
Fair.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good name.
Yeah, I know. I really like the music.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is like I like something a bit outside the normal setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I'm playing acoustic acoustic guitar, and I'm not really good at dealing with all the electronic effect. So I'd love to play with electronic guitars. I'm an e-guitarist, but for myself to start to play e-guitar, maybe it will take a while. Yeah.
I think that would be interesting to have a classical guitar within a metal band. Is your vision to play classical guitar with like effects on it, or just pure, like, just reverb?
Depends on the song.
Okay.
So it's open.
It's amazing.
It's open, because for acoustic guitar it's actually also quite open, because the acoustic sound is already like enough for some pieces. Because for e-guitar, the clean sound is relatively limited, but I mean for acoustic guitar it's already relatively thick, and then if we add more effect on it, it's like wow, so many possibilities. Yeah.
Great. I would love to hear you in a band format. Do you have recordings on your website where you're playing in a band? Or?
Yes, but I played keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so you're actually a multi-instrumentalist, not just a guitarist. Well, you mentioned before that you played piano and accordion and
Oh, accordion not anymore.
Small accordion, small accordion, big accordion.
Yeah, not anymore.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, piano or keyboard, yeah, it's okay. And also singing.
Okay, great. So I think this is amazing. We can definitely, mention some more of your work. On the website on Voices from the Dark.
Oh, thanks.
And I'm looking forward to hearing more about what you do.
Thank you.
I think your path is quite long, quite intense, and I just wish you luck, and hopefully
Thank you.
You'll be back in Berlin, After September.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So,
I'll be back.
okay, great. Do you have any other parting words that you would like to say? Any final advice for the artistic world? And
something I could borrow from an interview I watched. When you want to do something, very simple 2 words: do it. Yeah, I think that's the key.
That's good. I think we can end the episode on those 2 words.
Do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.